Hey guys, how's it going? October 1st, 2019, and still dealing with allergies, cold. I have no idea, but it comes and goes this time of year. So, um, basically, wanted to give an update on how we're at here. Um, at this point, I really have backed off as far as updates, YouTube's. I forget when I posted this message. This was the last message I think I posted, which was probably, I would guess, yeah, I was gonna say it was about a week ago. Um, but really, um, although I we were doing some stuff, my son and I actually early on last week we did some YouTube live streams on Rolling Line just to, you know, I think we did one. Maybe we did two. I'm not sure. I can't remember, even though it's only been a week away. Uh, so basically, the the way things were going, I was getting into it and trying to build a layout that was about 4-to-1 scale or 4-to-1 ratio, and I got as far from mile 30. Sorry, from not mile 31. It starts at mile zero. Mile zero on the Stanford sub up to around mile 12 ish or so, up to the CP interchange outside of Welland, or the CP junction outside of Welland. One of the first things that caught my attention, really quick, was that I was going to be in an environment that was not only, I mean, even though creative, I was going to be in an environment where I would have been better off sticking up with Run 8 single player, because at least Run 8 single player had the ability to do the AI. Rolling Line does not. Rolling Line has no AI, and it's very difficult to swap between different power sets. And the bigger you make the layout, the tougher it is to transport around. It's the interface is different than trains. It's not where you can, if you guys are familiar with trains, you can switch in between consists pretty quickly. And I knew doing this would be okay, or at least it seemed like it was going to be feasible, because the traffic around this area is not too heavy, at least not at the moment. I mean, it's going to get a little busier with an intermodal deal, and there's a new intermodal deal coming next week where there's probably going to be four more intermodal trains in our area, which is huge. We haven't had intermodal for several years now, so it's nice to see. And plus, they're talking about an oil train or something. But anyways, they're doing all kinds of work, so we might be seeing double the traffic actually, which is kind of crazy to think. But so yeah, I basically got to the point where my first test run of doing an interchange between Norfolk Southern and CN, even in a small area, it was difficult to control two trains at once. Multiplayer for this is not on the table for at least a year or two. And really, there's no interfaces, there's no nothing. I would have to do everything manually. I was building trains manually. I was doing everything that I was anything that I would derive from RTS would have to be done manually, and it got very worrisome, or not. It became very apparent that just because it was an alternative and I had the freedom to do the area that I wanted, it wasn't going to be enough. So unfortunately, rolling line, I haven't, and actually to my son's demise, because he actually enjoyed rolling line quite a bit. He says he can have tons of fun with it. Uh, I was kind of trying to avoid it all week, and yeah, I had to break it to him. I just said, hey, I said, you know, I can't do this, and no matter how much he likes it, it wasn't something that I enjoyed. So, despite its original and despite the fact that I ended up purchasing it, I should have thought about it a little bit better, but I wanted to give it a try, and so we gave it a try, and I should have thought it through a little bit more, so I didn't. So unfortunately, that's out of consideration for now. They got one good developer. I think it's got a future. I think it certainly has potential, but it's nothing that I'm going to be actively pursuing or continuing on. If my son wants to get it, he can get it. For his computer upstairs, he's got Steam, so he can certainly get it or ask for it or whatever. So that's pretty much it for Rolling Line. I haven't updated the threads because, as far as I'm concerned, the wiki is dead, and my YouTube channel is dying, and the views have been slowly going down, anyways. Especially when I'm not doing anything Run 8 related, which I guess was my bread and butter for the longest time. On the weekend, and actually even before that, both of us are getting pretty bored with stuff on the inside. We've spent a lot of time outdoors doing some real actual rail fanning. That's been the most fun I've had, and it has inspired me. But at the same time, it's frustrating for me because, and I think I let my frustrations pretty much. I don't know when it was, but I posted something a little while back, and it was kind of just, I don't know what it was. It was some kind of rant of some sort. I don't even know what I posted, to be quite honest. But it was some kind of disappointment. It got buried anyways, but I don't know what it was. But it was just basically me venting in public, and kind of wish I didn't, but I did. So that's just the way it is. I've said from the get go, Run 8 is the best simulator out there, and there's no doubt about it. Unfortunately, it's not good enough for me at this point. Can it get better? Maybe. I don't know. I guess it has the potential to get better. But if I was to lie in potential, I would say Rolling Line has more potential than Run 8 right now. And that's with one developer. And the reason why I say that is only because I know it's being actively developed. I know the Run 8 guys say it's being actively developed. I know I've heard so much different things, but as far as the information that I'm getting is very little to none anyways. So I really don't hear much. Scott actually emailed me tonight. He just got his computer back after 1 month. I had no idea what happened to him, to be quite honest. I feared the worst, to be honest, and I've done that before, and he knows it. But it was good to hear from him, so I gave him a quick reply, and I figured, well, he'll probably listen to this, so I figured that's good. But nothing has changed. There's nothing that I can think of news-wise. Let me just take a quick look, and we'll see. But Run Studios, there's nothing going on as far as I'm aware. There's no indication. There's no buzz. I don't see anything. Um, Certainly don't see anything on Train Sim that would have a buzz. So June 14th was the last update where you had some more car packs, more well car packs. This is the last thing I purchased from them. Never really used it. Arvin and Oak Creek. So I did purchase that back on June 1st. And then June 14th came along, and that was it. And there hasn't been no more. And we are now a little over 4 months, or a little more over 3 months after that, and still I haven't heard any buzz of anything else. I mean, the only other thing that I know that has happened is that we've got what do you call it? The external dispatcher got updated, so that was good to hear. Um, so, I'm glad to see that. Southwest Forums, I'm not going to log in, but just go to the regular here. I think this was the last post that was on the forum back on September 29th that I posted. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It wasn't the news I was hoping for. I was actually looking forward to this because I figured this is the one community that was giving me something to look forward to in Run 8. And they're having sessions on Sundays and Wednesdays. So my Wednesdays is actually drastically changing as of tomorrow. Normally I have a lot of time on Wednesdays, but suddenly my prime time, there's a new wrestling show that's coming out that actually, if you're into wrestling at all or know anything about it, this week has been nuts. It is just everything has been rejuvenated as far as wrestling rivalries between promotions, new promotions, a lot of money being invested, a lot of television networks. Here in Canada, TSN just got a deal, which was the deal I was waiting for. And I knew it was coming anyways. I knew something was coming, so one way or another, I was going to likely watch the new wrestling on Wednesdays. I got wrestling I'm going to start watching on Friday. I haven't watched actual wrestling other than the pay-per-views that AEW has put on. I haven't actually watched WWE in probably about a year and a half. But come Friday, I have the opportunity to again. So I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that. And as far as I know, I have access to Fox, so Fox is premiere for the first time. WWE is going to be on Fox, and it's going to be their major show. So I figured, yeah, sure, we can watch that on a Friday night. So that takes care of our Friday. So for my son and I, that's 2 nights of wrestling, both Wednesday and Friday nights. Get to see a little bit of both. I got him into wrestling a long time ago, back when I still watched the WWE quite a bit. But anyways, this isn't about wrestling. The point is, my Wednesdays are going to be booked. I can't do anything on a Wednesday. And they're going to be running sessions on Sundays and Wednesdays. Sundays is a tough one because I might be available for some Sundays, but really I've been getting used to taking my Sundays and going out and watching the real world trains, or going to Brantford, and basically, or that's the definition of it. I didn't do it this week. I forget what the heck I did this Sunday, but oh no, I stayed in Niagara. It was getting too late, but ended up watching trains in Niagara instead of going to Brantford. But I still went out to watch trains. That seems to be, at least while the weather's still reasonably well, that seems to be the the time that I basically wind down my weekend. So I give up my son after 4 o'clock, and it's what keeps me in a mood. I don't know if hanging around a computer on a Sunday night is going to keep me in a good mood or not. Quite frankly, both my son and I have been a lot more bored lately. When we're not out someplace, and we've gone to taken a lot of day trips lately, but if we're not out someplace doing something and we're just here and the only thing we have is the computer, it's very tough. There's only so much YouTube. There's only so much other things that we can go on. So it's been very tough. Now, I want to bring this around to RTS before my voice goes and I end this for the night. We've talked about what we're looking for, or what in particular my son is interested in. I've asked him if he's into the dispatching side of things. He says no. I tried to see if he would get into. I know he's not into Run 8. I know he's not into dispatching. He finds it boring. So we're finding that there's still, despite the fact that we have so many similarities and so many similar interests in trains, trains is very wide. And just because you have friends who are into trains doesn't mean they're going to have similar, because there's so many wide array of things. But I said, as far as programming, I basically told him what the strengths and weaknesses are. We actually went over a Blender tutorial. Now, he's very smart, gifted, to be quite honest. And I don't say that just because he's my son. I say that because that's what he's been qualified as. He's had a great year for school so far compared to where he was last year physically. Everything's been great. So he's back to being the kid that I, have always known, which is awesome. So I figured I want him to take a look at the tutorial on Blender, in thinking that maybe his geometry teaching and his lack of not having his head suffered multiple concussions in a lifetime like mine, that well, I shouldn't say multiple concussions, but I've had a few, and needless to say, I think the medication I'm on for epileptic-like seizures plays a toll in my memory. It plays a toll on a lot of things. And trying to concentrate, or trying to really apply myself to something like programming for a hobby is very difficult. The one time I did it was with RTS, and the reason why I did it was because I can still enjoy doing Run 8 while developing RTS along the side. So I was doing both, and I had quite a bit of time on my hands. Now I don't. And I've enjoyed my job. I just got a raise this week. It's great. So, I mean, things are good there. But as far as what I talked with him, we tried to find what is it that we want to develop, because he wants to get into the programming side of things, and he wants to program RTS because he's bored. I'm bored. If we're going to do something on the computer, we really don't want to. We're getting tired of the games that we have. We want to develop something for ourselves. So I went through Blender with him, and I was confused. It's just very complicated for me. There's just so many. I'm not a graphic artist, and I showed him, and he's confused with it as well. It's mind-boggling. I said, okay. I said, so why don't we stay away from graphics then? Let's stay away from graphics, and let's deal with 2 dimensions. And I said, if we go to a dispatch screen, I says, you're going to be bored of it. But he said that, my son basically said that he thinks developing a dispatch screen would be fine for him. He'd be okay with it because he'd be creating it, but he just wouldn't be into it. And I said, that's not fun. You want to be into something that you enjoy. I says, you want to be motivated to do it, not just build it because I says it takes a lot to develop something. It just doesn't come overnight. I said, you like the yard size, so he wants to get into the yard master side of things. And I said, okay, we can possibly go that road again. Now, I've had requests very recently actually asking me, people who wish I was going to continue with the version 2 and actually go ahead and finish off what was in the original version, so that it was not only compatible with the current version of Run 8, but also compatible with all the add-on stuff. And the problem with that for me is I'm not into Run 8, so it's difficult for me to get into that. And since I don't want to develop something if I'm not into it, depending upon what Run 8 does, that could change. If I get into it again, or if I see a reason that I can fit it in, then that would work, relatively well. I'd be happy with it. So, I mean, it's possible. But I think I'm going to go ahead with the Yardmaster ideas that my son was talking about, and just work on something. Just get ourselves to where we're getting into he basically said, we can do the random waybill generators. We can get the waybills started. He'd like to see a yard interface. We could potentially use that model railroad, the whatever the hell, I can't remember the name of it now that I just was talking about, but that program we just got recently, I can't even, railway line or whatever, the running line, or I don't know what the hell the name of it is now, I can't remember. See how bad my memory is? So I was thinking, well, and I told him this too, I said, well, what I could do is I could build a very small layout of the Port Robinson yard, and then we can basically use it to simulate the tasks that the Yardmaster is asking. So we can use the Yardmaster system, and then just basically use that. But for a Yardmaster, and this is where Yardmasters do see a screen. So it's a little bit different though than a train dispatcher, or at least a modern Yardmaster or a modern car control. Car control is a different story. Car control office is a lot different because you're dealing with a lot more data behind a desk and not actually seeing the physical train. So I kind of thought about that approach versus a Yardmaster. A Yardmaster is a lot different because not only would the Yardmaster have the screen in front of him, or the some type of arrangement to tell him what's in his yards, but he would actually be able to physically have the visual cues as to what was happening in the yard. So it's one of those things. I mean, whether it be the tower, or even if it's a smaller yard and you're by a shack or something like that, you can look out and you can actually see the trains. You still have that and I kind of wanted to include that visual 3D view somehow. Maybe not have a simulator, but have something that gave that visual feeling of doing more than just looking at a screen. But on a car control basis, it is based on a screen. So I could have it so that it's a little bit different than a train dispatcher. Because with a train dispatcher, yeah, you're watching a lot, but you're watching a lot of things changing. Whereas car control, okay, you're watching a yard, but that yard is not changing as nearly as quickly. In fact, I would say a modern car control probably deals with multiple yards on multiple screens. If he's just dealing with 1 yard and they call up car control to, and this is the way they do it when a yardmaster's not present, and you're trying to figure out where a crew's trying to figure out where to put the cars, or get an updated switch list. That's what it's basically like a dispatcher for car control. I can't even really explain anymore. At least that's what CN has done. I don't know too much more about it other than that they tone them on a different tone. They tone them on a different tone to another channel, and they are able to speak to car control, who advises them where to set off cars if they don't have it on a switch list, or tell them what to lift, and then they can send a new manifest or a new switch list to the printer at the office, and then they can take it from there. So they would have an updated manifest, so they have it with them. They know the order of the train and all that other stuff. So, but anyways, I'm just rambling. So we still have RTA. We still have these things that we want to do. It's it's starting to get into fall now. But we do want to take advantage of as many weekends and everything else in between. It's just, for now, it's a matter of trying to find our stride, I think. But I think we'll get there. So you won't be seeing as many updates from YouTube. You won't be seeing as many updates on the forums. I'd like to have something concrete going before I do anything else, as far as if anything changes with Run 8, or if I can take part in any sessions or extra sessions or whatever on the Southwest forums, then I can certainly do that as well. But I'm not planning. I don't see myself being a big part of the Southwest forums, unfortunately, because if they're running Sundays and Wednesdays, those 2 days are not going to be as good. The only day I really have that's any good now is Mondays. That's it. That's really the only day that I have that I can really give a lot of time, because between 8 and 10 I'm watching wrestling on Wednesdays. I got a little bit of time, but Sundays doesn't look good. At least not at this point. Maybe come winter that could change, where I'm stuck inside and the rail driver's still here, it's still powered up, it's still ready to go. It's just no, I have to have something, and the days and everything else. It's just the only thing that's really good for me right now would be some kind of single player that I can run whenever the hell I want to run it, with a very powerful AI system. And unfortunately, Run 8's not there yet. And I don't know when Run 8 will, if they ever are going to be at that level. They're still the best train simulator out there, in my opinion. But unfortunately, there's it's just there's no buzz for it. I really don't anticipate much happening. I wouldn't expect anything to happen in the next year. I've been told when I kind of made the comment, I think I made one of the comments, I says, Basically, there's no buzz and it's pretty dead. You know, that was contrary and say, well, no, run 8's far from dead. Well, okay, that could be. And I don't necessarily think it's dead. If I said that, then I'm just ranting, but no. I don't think it's dead, but it's on life support, as far as I'm concerned. There's no buzz. There's no sense of community. Communities like this still around, but unless you're in one of the bigger groups, we'll see how this goes. And I wish these guys all the luck. And if I can run a train for an hour with these guys on a Wednesday, maybe I will, just to make a run. But I won't be dispatching. And we'll see. I'll see what happens. Maybe 10 o'clock I might pop on, run for a half an hour or something, but I'm not counting on it at this point. For 1 hour, it's not worth it for me anyways, personally. So wish them the best of luck, though. Hopefully everything goes good. Anyways, that's it for now. I just wanted to let you guys in on that there's really no sign of any Run 8 in the future right now. If they have some Monday sessions down the road, then I will certainly be interested in taking part in those. But other than that, I'm just going to start with my projects in the fall and go with that. And that'll be it for now. And I'm going to keep away. I keep telling my son, I said, nobody's interested in these other programs because the views are horrible. Hardly anybody's interested in my forums. Hardly anybody's interested in me rambling on YouTube. So I just got to keep... got to get at it and just do something and quit bitching and complaining and just do it. I'm not really bitching and complaining, I don't think. But anyways... At least I don't feel like I am. So, anyways, guys, that's it. I'm going to talk to you later. I'll have a good one. We'll take care.